The following is a discussion with Lukas Yerlianis, our Head of Implementation Services at CluedIn. Lukas spends a lot of his time in the weeds with hands on the keyboard, working with customers in some of the most complex of data challenges. Therefore, he's the perfect type of person to get a gauge on how is MDM and data quality being addressed in companies today. Enjoy.
The data leaders that are listening to us, what are those really interesting things you've learned as truisms over working in this space, hands dirty, in the weeds for so many years? Like, what would be those golden tickets that you would pass on to any data leader that would have them understand more what can be yielded in value out of implementing MDM?
I want to start this with a bit of a preparation, right? So if you are planning on onboarding into an MDM experience, perhaps think about where does your data actually reside first, right? If all of your data resides in an on-premise databases, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through, then your MDM project will take longer before you reach the value naturally, right? If you have everything lined up in Azure and you use something like Azure Data Factory to already manage that data, so like pump Delta updates, store it somewhere, then plugging it into an MDM platform, it's as simple as 1-2, right? It's enabling your pipeline, adding an additional sync, and your data is already entering. And when you are that quick at the initial steps, the value comes in very quickly as well, because, as soon as you start ingesting data, you immediately start deduplicating it, right? And something as simple as deduplicating, even on a very, a small scale, narrow level, it already improves what you had before, right? You can already go back to business and say, hey, listen, we're 3 weeks into the implementation project, and we're 30% less duplicates in our contacts list. So what that means to your SDRs and your sales team way behind is that, now I don't actually have to find 1 out of 3 emails that works for this opportunity I have. I know exactly it's this one. And when you start combining more and more of these layers of deduplication, of transformation and rules, it just makes life so much easier for the end user, right? So of course, you get essentially analytics for free in that case as well. And you have data stewards cleaning that data, but it's the end user that is getting all that benefit. And sometimes it might be very, very difficult to even see the value that you are providing. So I would say my advice is that come in ready for an MDM, know what you want to get out of it. Make sure you have the right stakeholders established, and the stakeholders doesn't necessarily even have to mean higher ups, your heads of data, your CIOs, but people that are boots on the ground effectively, right, that are picking up the phone and calling based off the data that you feed them. I would say these are also very relevant stakeholders to you. And of course, the technical aspect is, it would help if all of my projects that I run in the past would have data, in Azure Data Lake that I can just go and fetch, right, like that.
So I consider myself really naive because, I actually only learned this a couple of years into getting really hands-on with MDM. That realization that IT and engineering cannot, will not, and should not solve a large portion of those challenges in getting data ready for insight. And quite naively, what is it that these non-technical people know that I don't know? Aren't I the ones with the skills to code and script and format and integrate and all of these things? And it's that realization of, and there's a whole bunch of these problems you can never code your way out of. There are these very non-deterministic challenges that no engineer or no IT savant or expert would ever be able to crack in an economically viable way. How can you make that part of an operational system for the non-technical users to massage that data to the right?